Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, greetings and salutations, and welcome to another edition of the Women of BSV with myself and Ruth. And today we have the wonderful Float, who is the lead designer for Haste Arcade and for the Take It NFT platform. So I am quite excited to have you here because we haven't had anybody from Haste at all, and it's really cool to have someone who is a real great designer, but also can talk to us about Haste Arcade as well, because I've played a few games. I'm not sure, have you played a few games, Ruth?
I had to go a couple. I'm hopeless. I'm just hopeless with games. I never I'll be honest with you, I never really got the point of it. But it feels like a waste of precious time to me. But I did used to play when I was a kid, so I understand the concept, but I'm just not very good at it as a grown up.
I suppose it depends on what the games are. I mean, if you're like I used to love playing Tekken. I don't know about you, Float, but I really like playing Tekken, and I love Space Invaders. That's why I was what's the name of it? You say it was Lost or something?
Lost, yeah.
Lost. I loved that. I was playing it the other day, and I was like, yeah, I'm just shooting, and things are blowing up on the screen, and I'm flying around the screen and everything, just pressing these bombs and stuff. I loved it. And then same with is it Forest Fire? It is Forest Fire, isn't it?
Forest and Fire.
Yeah, love that one as well. So there's those, and then there's chess. I want to play chess on there as well, but I haven't got round to playing chess yet. So what exactly does a lead designer do for Haste?
Oh man, yeah, that's an answer, or that's a question I have trouble answering because I do so many things. I think anyone who works for a startup can relate. You know, we all wear a lot of different hats, but I say day to day, what I do is I focus a lot on our needs in terms of digital experience. And it really could include a lot of things. You know, I do everything from user research, doing research on competitive analysis, companies like us, whether they're in the BSV space or not, researching our core audience and users, kind of their needs, their wants. And then on the experience side, you know, just really working through what we call user flows of how the user step by step will go through a process digitally within our product. And then, you know, I do visual design on top of that. I do a lot of our marketing visuals. I work really closely with our developers to make sure we're building things in the right way, and how the ultimate end experience is what I envisioned when I did the mock-ups in my design program, you know. So it can be all over the place, but at its core, I would say that's a lot of what I do.
So are you making the actual in-game graphics?
It depends. I have for some of them, not for all of them though. Right now, we rely a lot on third-party assets, or we will work with third-party artists to help us. I would say the game that I worked on the most thus far is Monster Bombs.
Which is awesome. I did have a go at
that. Yeah, I had to go at that. It's really cool.
Yeah, that one was really, really fun to do. We did work with a third-party artist on that for the character design and the character animation, but all the kind of background stuff, I did most of the background stuff in collaboration with our game developer, Keith or Rallion. And yeah, it's just all that stuff. I'm a huge fan of games myself, so that getting to work on that stuff is always so fun for me.
Is that how you got into it then? From being a wee nipper, a wee child?
You mean Haste, or just designing games in general?
Yeah, because you said you've playing games yourself, so obviously there's got to be you know, you got hooked onto something that made you want to be a designer and then move into the gaming space. So what was that story?
Well, growing up, you know, games were always a big bonding thing in my family. You know, we would play Nintendo at my grandma's house, and my dad brought home a PlayStation. I'd play Crash Bandicoot with my brother all the time. So I just grew up playing games all the time, and I grew up with a lot of, you know, boys in my family, and so that was just what we always did together, was play video games. And I was telling Ray this on our real world podcast, but the thing that really kind of got me into the design world was kind of like a mix of the two. I used to play this game online called Neopets, and it was through Neopets that I really like started to teach myself HTML and CSS. I was only like 11 at the time. I had no idea what I was doing. I was having fun like playing this game and like making my shop look cool. So it like definitely evolved from there. But you know, in my teenage years, like I used to play World of Warcraft like really hardcore. So I mean, I have a lot of experience gaming and being in gaming circles and doing the design stuff. It kind of working at Haste is just kind of like the pinnacle for me in terms of a dream job.
No, it sounds wonderful. It sounds like a lot
a
of
natural step in that direction as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Particularly, it's like you can, you know, add a new game. It's quite a short project to do, isn't it? And then it's suddenly there. It's like it must be very satisfying to have this list of games that's, you know, growing longer and longer the whole time, and you know, quite pacey and changing all the time, and you know.
Right, and one of the things we've like found when building out the arcade is, you know, people crave a wide variety of gameplay experiences. You know, there's so many different types of games. We have like a huge backlog of lists of games, you know, that we're planning to build. But just to give you an example, like Monster Bombs, that took us around, let's see, we started like early May and I think we launched it September. So I mean, 4 months really doesn't seem like that long. It felt long to us.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say the game is simple. Like a lot of the things we do, I think seem simple at first glance because we work very hard to make them seem simple from like a UI and UX perspective. But yeah, the amount of work that goes into building games like this is just, it was extremely satisfying to see this like in action and get all the positive feedback on it, as we worked extremely hard.
See how hopeless I am at this.
Oh yeah, this is a hard game too. It's hard.
Yeah. I mean, to get that baseball swinging at the right time, I managed to hit the ball once, to be fair, myself. But so you did all the graphics for this?
Well, like I said, it was kind of a collaboration between the third-party artist, myself, and the developer. Like you can see all the kind of vector graphics in the background, like the space, the planets, the lights, the like kind of back wall. That was like a vector that I made. And then I worked with our developer to get kind of all the elements and get the field working right from some concept art that I did. And
yeah. So I want to know, what platform do you use? Is it 3D Studio Max? Is it? I mean, what are you using? Maya?
I use Figma. I'm a big Figma fan.
Okay.
I will dip my toes into like Photoshop when I absolutely need to, but I try to stay away from Adobe as much as possible.
So you mostly vector then?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm a graphic designer too. So yeah, I love Figma too, but I got to admit it's not my first tool of choice. It's such a recent piece of software that I have others that I'm more attached to. But
yeah, I mean, me personally, you were saying about HTML. I learned HTML when I was about 30, so I was a bit of a late developer on the HTML. But I learned C+ coding when I was about 8.
Wow, there you go.
At the same time I was doing HTML, I was learning 3D Studio Max, and that's why I asked you about, because at that time it was really like a lot of games and TV and film studios particularly were using 3D Studio Max, and the platform is that it was just huge platform, huge piece of software, so much in it. So I don't know anything about Figma. I know it comes up quite a lot in the development circles.
It's really good for laying out websites.
Yeah. It's mostly like a UI UX tool. I honestly, because you know, I actually went to college for graphic design. That's what I majored in, and you know, I was taught on Illustrator and Photoshop and even like Dreamweaver. So,
that's going back a bit. Yeah.
Learning, like going from doing all my vector art in Illustrator to Figma was actually like a breath of fresh air to me. Like it makes so much more sense to me in Figma.
No, Illustrator is horrible.
Yeah, and it's just like those Adobe programs, man, they just they really
I
need to
make it
focus on
overly complicated.
improving.
Yeah.
Exactly. They really need to focus on like streamlining the experience. I've dipped my toes into some 3D, you know, messed around with like Blender, and there's another one I've used, but I'm very much still in the learning process with that. But it's always so much to learn.
No, I agree with you as well, because I used Adobe Photoshop, and then I use Premiere Pro and After Effects, and sometimes, you know, it's great pieces of software, but there's so many things that can go wrong with that piece of software. Whereas I now edit everything in Nero, which is cheap and cheerful, but I can do exactly the same in Nero as I could in Premiere. So yeah, I do understand where you're coming from. So this is this Forest Fire?
Yeah, this is Forest and Fire. I think that was one of the very, very first games on the platform. I'm really bad at it too.
This is the first game I played, and I managed to get a really high score. I don't think anybody else had played. Like, there was hardly anybody that had played at the time I played, and I got this really high score for some reason, and now I get loads of little sats coming into my hand cash wallet. So explain how that works, because that's
yeah. So it's just, you know, there's a tier system for our leaderboard, so you can always play any of our games for free. That's always an option. Or we have, you know, our leaderboard tiers. I think they're like nano, micro, macro, etc. So they go up from like, you know, 0, 1 of a cent to like 10 cents. I think the next tier up is like $1, etc. So you can kind of choose to play whatever price you're most comfortable at, and depending on the score you get for the leaderboard that you select, you know, if you get a high enough score and you get on the board, then anyone else who plays after you and like doesn't beat your score, you get a portion of that play sent to you, and you kind of earn that way by placing on the leaderboard.
It's such a cool idea. It's so obvious when you think about it, but you know, you're one of very few who's doing it. I mean, have you guys got a patent on that?
We do. Yeah, we do have a patent on ILP for sure. And we've had several game developers come to us and ask us for help implementing ILP into their games.
It's just brilliant. I mean, it puts a whole different spin on playing games. Because for me, like, I'm like, oh God, I could be doing something more useful. Why would I play a game? But then if you're actually making a bit of money because you're really good at it, I guess it starts to make a bit more sense. Talk me through these assets. I'm looking at here.
So this is our like game collectible marketplace. We do NFT game collectibles for, I would say, the majority of our games. There's some that do not have collectibles yet, but the ones that you'll see on the screen right now are for a game called Tiger Run that we have. It's basically like, you know, kind of a Temple Run clone where you're a little character running through just like a landscape trying to dodge objects. So like you can buy different characters to be in the game. You can change like the gyms that show up on the map in the game, etc. It's just, we look at our game collectibles as kind of like just for fun, like nothing.
It's like reskinning and
like nothing that you'll buy will, like, you know, we don't want to make anything we do pay to win, since that's such a big part of ILP. Like it's all skill based. So none of the game collectibles will, you know, give you any bonus or plus to skill. It's all just for fun.
Nice. And I like how you have the different tiers of payment as well. So, you know, I can just play at a kind of a nano payment level of just 1 cent per play by the look of it.
Well, like you say, I mean, the initial way to come in is you can play for free and have a practice run first, and then you can then go 1 cent, 10 cent up and everything. But there's no barriers to entry, is there? You can actually play for free. Which
and that's was like our hope with making practice, we call it our practice tiers free, is that like initially, you know, none of our games are super familiar. If you're, you know, a lot of people will come here and be like, I've never heard of jump or force or fire or monster bombs, which we understand. And so it's like, well, we want you to try and play and see the scores on the board and practice. And like, we like refer to it jokingly as like proof of play. The more you play, the better you'll get at the game. And hopefully you get to the point where you realize like, oh shoot, I can beat these scores on this board, and maybe you'll, you know, pay at that point and start competing.
The keyboard warrior, because Brittany said that she liked keyboard warrior, so I thought I'd have a go at it. And actually it's really useful because it's literally testing your typing skills. So
Yeah.
I think at the moment I was like 35 words per minute, which is not very good at all, but something like that, yeah, you know, your like your touch typing skills and your speed typing will actually
I'm going to
pick
be
up
super
and
bad at
be
this.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is actually a third-party developer game. So the interesting thing about the arcade is we have like what we call our Haste original games that we have like built and support continually, but then we also have like an SDK for game developers to make their own games for the arcade. So this is actually one that was submitted last year as part of our dev competition. And yeah, we had a lot of really good ones come out of that. And so it's really cool to kind of see the things that our third-party developers create. And
Oh, no.
So
It's
what is the process then? I mean, if you've got an
Oh,
idea,
God.
because I mean, I think, are you talking about the Bitcade event that was in Miami?
Yeah, I mean, we do some Bitcades here and there. The idea of the Bitcades is more so about, you know, it's kind of like what we refer to as like not exactly a live tournament, but kind of a live tournament where, you know, you're instead of competing against faceless people on the internet, you go to a Bitcade and you're competing against the people in person.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a different experience. We have a bunch of different ideas surrounding like those types of experiences for like, you know, Bitcades and physical arcades and all that stuff.
So okay,
I think it
then.
looked like loads of fun, don't you think, did it?
Oh
we
yeah, no,
covered
it
the
did.
event, didn't we? It was
Yeah, I mean, it looked lovely. There was music going. I'm sure there was a bit of food floating around. There was plenty of familiar faces there as well, which was great. But I am interested if you know, you got a simple game idea. What does somebody do if they want to get their game into the arcade? How do they go about, you know, how do they go about approaching you, and what do they need to do?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So typically how we always direct people to like work with us is please join our Discord. In our Discord, we have a whole section called Build With Us, where, you know, we have channels for game design, game development, SDK integration. If you want to ask for someone to help you build a game, we even have like a little jobs freelance channel. And basically like all we ask for people to do is kind of just like, you know, join the Discord and engage with us. Like we are always really happy to see people coming in and asking about like, you know, whether it's a new game idea or they have an existing game, we will like, you know, work on them to understand like their vision, what they have in mind, and kind of like, you know, just give them guidance on what they need to do to kind of get it up on the arcade. And, you know, sometimes we'll help out with that if needed, but basically like just join our Discord and come talk to us. Like we're always really happy to have more games.
You know, well, that's great to hear. Like my son loves writing games, and my husband's a game artist, as it happens. So
That's
I've been trying to
awesome.
talk him into adding, you know, submitting a game to Haste for ages, but like I'll double down because I mean, it looks like a lot of fun. And these are real mini games type stuff, aren't they? They're not like sprawling, difficult to finish, you know.
Well, it's not World of
Yeah.
Warcraft.
No.
Right. We always say that we're very focused on the like hyper casual gaming market right now. So we consider that like very quick to play. I would say simple games, but we all know they're not always that simple. But yeah, I mean, even a simple game, it's a lot of time and effort put in that. Like I said, it was 4 or 5 months doing monster bombs, so it's a commitment for sure.
So the question though is, I mean, you know, do they come along and pay you, or do you work out some kind of negotiation? Is that every game is on its individual merit, depending Or is that trade secrets? Is that letting away too much?
No, it's not secret. It's not secret. That's a good question, actually. It depends. It depends like how much experience they have as a developer. We've had a couple, a couple alpha players of ours, who like went and got a game. They paid developers on Fiverr, to like make this game for them, and their developers got it maybe like 80% of the way there. And then we struck a deal with them to help them finish the game and then put it up on the arcade. And so we're basically like, we're really flexible. We typically try to not like take on any new games ourselves. Like if someone has an idea but they don't have a team, we're kind of like, sorry, we can't help you, because we have our own backlog of games and things to do that we need to get done. But we're always willing to like work with people and talk through options, especially if they have something already built, or if like the game idea is really, really good. We have flexibility there. Typically, I think for the game that we helped finish off, we did like a revenue share on all the revenue, so we like just split it down the middle, and they were really happy with that, just to get a game up in the arcade. So we're really flexible. But if a developer gets to the point where they like do it all themselves and get it up, we go through, obviously there's a bit of a like submission process. We just review the game, make sure it's working as intended before we push it up, and make sure it's actually skill based and not like a gambling game, luck based. We'll go through all of that, and then they get I can't remember the exact number off of my head, but we have a generous, like, we give them a very generous cut for their games.
Well, I've got three, well, actually 5 ideas that would be really cool. But I'm not a developer.
Yeah, we always say that we have
later.
no shortage of ideas, for
Yeah,
sure.
I can imagine.
The amount of ideas we have, we always say it could fill a product roadmap for us for like 5 years.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think my husband's got a games file that he's got that has, I don't know, several hundred game ideas. He's not very good at finishing them.
It's great to be a fly on the wall in some of your team meetings as well, actually, to be honest with you. I bet they're quite amusing.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of fun.
Well, shall we move on and talk about Take It NFT, because you're that as well, aren't you? So
yeah, I mean, there's a lot going on in the Haste world.
Yeah.
So
what is Take It NFT? Explain this to me.
Oh wow, yeah, I'm probably gonna butcher the explanation, but it's just it's kind of a spin on the traditional like NFT marketplace. The idea is basically that typical auctions, no one's really earning besides like the creator, and so our idea is that like if you bid on an NFT, we call that a take. If you take an NFT, then if someone takes it after you, you'll receive money back. Like, well, obviously all of the money that you put in back plus like a percentage on top of that. So you're actually like earning for participating in like the bid battle, which drives a lot of engagement across the platform, and everyone seems to really like that model because it's kind of like it like gamifies the experience.
Yeah, I had Zach explains this to me the other day, did he? And I can't hold it in my head, it's quite a complex concept, really, this. So I as an artist submit an NFT, I put it up for sale, then there's a bidding process, and the person who gets it, then if they do they automatically put it up for sale, or is it only if they choose to?
Right. So there's a voting process. So the idea with our drops for the collection is that like they're voted on by the community. So what you'll do is you'll submit an idea, or you'll submit your drop, and that's really just like the bare minimum we need for the voting page. Things like the name, what drop style you want to do. We have Take It, and then we have like a more traditional like mint it style like grab bag sort of auction. And then, like, you know, once you get 50 votes from the community, we'll schedule your drop. And we work manually to make sure the submission process, like nothing weird's coming through. And then we work with the artist pretty closely to get their collection up and determine a drop date.
Okay, so really it's the community that's deciding what kind of art they actually like and would like to buy.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, we also work with like bigger creators such as Magetta and, you know, Gorilla Pool for, you know, the well-known artists in the community who like have some clout. You know, we reserve the right to just kind of do drops for those people. But we'd love the voting process.
I noticed, I don't know which page I was on at the time, but like your cat NFTs are awesome.
Oh yeah, if you go to drop,
where do I go to find those? Are they?
Yeah, go to the drops link at the top, and then you can just go to the over tab.
Right.
And you should see, if you scroll down a little bit, you should see garden cats. Yeah, Nana Gang.
No, these look beautiful.
Look.
Oh yeah, cats. Ray loved these.
What I'm so excited about this is that because Diddy and I are well into Midjourney, so it's an AI drop, as it were.
Yeah. A lot of mine that I've done on Take It have been Midjourney renders.
I can feel your pain here to get this many good quality cat pictures. That must have taken quite some time.
I spend way too much of my free time Midjourneying. But yeah, I really appreciate that, because I think there are a lot of people who don't realize how much work goes into like rendering these Midjourney images. You know, they think you're just typing text in there and it spits out a perfect image. It's like, you have not used this tool at all.
It's not that simple. I mean, I know I'm guilty of that myself, like, you know, sort of, because I like to paint on with real things as well as make digital stuff, you know, but like it isn't as, you know, you do put a prompt in, but yeah, it's not just as easy as that, really.
Well, the thing of it is you can get like this lucky images out, no problem, but to get consistent, the same, you know, if you're trying to get these face on cats surrounded by flowers over and over again in lots of different kind of formats and styles and, you know, colorways, that's tough. So it's really good at just happy accidents, but it's really, really like I said to someone else, chewing glass if you're trying to get something specific out of it. And something specific over and over and over again. I mean, like,
and if you're trying to create a consistent style across the collection, that's even more difficult. The one I'm working on now is because these were all kind of inspired by Studio Ghibli. So there's like a slight range of styles in this collection, but the next one I'm working on,
beautiful,
which is also cat themed because I just love cats, it has a more consistent style than this one.
But I mean, so the thing is that I produce Midjourney images all day and all night long. Like I'm awake at 1 o'clock in the morning I'm completely obsessed.
Yeah.
And I'm focusing more onto putting them onto products than anything. But it kind of gives me a bit of hope to think that I could actually maybe produce an NFT collection, because I'd kind of ruled out thinking, oh well, it's, you know, maybe that's not allowed.
But you've already produced 2 NFT collections, and with Midjourney, it's commercial use, isn't it? So you can do what you want.
No, I know you can. I know you can sell it, but I thought maybe the platforms that were selling the NFTs might object. I don't know. I didn't really think about it, to be honest, too much.
Art is art, though, isn't it? It doesn't really. Somebody told me once, it doesn't really matter how you get to the finished product. It's still art.
And
it's still your art. You know, you can have mixed media or anything, but you know, whatever your process is to make that art is your individual process. It's still art at the end of the day. I mean, same here. I've got shed loads, thousands of images as well. I'm like, well, what do I do with them? You know, so maybe
it's crafting a collection that's the tough bit. So, I mean, you were talking earlier, Diddy, about, you know, doing some history images. Like maybe you have a history collection or something.
And the completely different projects, though. You see, I've got Fabric. Well, my particular Fabric is the art that I do for Fabric is all a physical product. So there is a a digital image, but there is a canvas as well that comes with that. So that's Fabrique. And then
That's
I've got
really
another
cool.
channel which is History, Myths and Mysteries, which is like little history documentaries. So each individual like little video that I do with narration has got artwork to it, and each of those has got a collection which is separate to each video. But that's a product like through a kind of your drop shipping site. And then I don't have any, well, I mean, I've got a couple that are on RelayX, but your platform is specifically, the way that it looks is a lot nicer as a platform. RelayX were one of the first to do it all, but this is more of a real artist kind of platform. So that is
gallery
somewhere. Yeah, somewhere then I could have a digital collection and just a digital collection, which is not backed by any products at all, which is completely different, because I've got some beautiful stuff as well, and the same with Ruth, that probably could go on here. Yeah.
Yeah, and we do the digital to physical as well. Our Monster Bombs drops were exactly that. We had you could buy the NFTs and you would get like you would get the physical items, so like the shoe, the hat, the jersey, and then you'd get the matching game collectible that like your character could wear in game to match the physical product that you got. So we definitely see this platform of these were videos for Tree of Power.
Nice. Yeah.
So, and we also have like a bunch of music creators, people who want to do physical products. Like we envision Take It becoming like, including everything. We want to welcome all creators to feel free to like use our platform and just become like a creative hub.
All right, so I'm going to definitely write a game for Haste Arcade, and now I'm going to, try and get together a collection to submit. I realize we've got to be voted up, but this is actually really inspiring. Why have I not noticed this before?
I'm glad. Thank you guys for the nice words.
Yeah. I mean, these are cool. I like these.
Oh yeah, Nana Gang. I love Nana Gang.
These are cute. I've not seen these. These are really cute. Oh my
gosh. These were Midjourney generated as well.
Yeah, no, I can tell. I mean, it's you can tell after a while. So, what was another one I wanted to see down here? I like the portals. Is that you again, Flo?
Yeah, that's me again. My Midjourney portals. Yeah, that was a very, very small collection.
So is there a limit as well? I mean, is there like a maximum of or a minimum of?
No, not really. We've had, collections with just one. I think Magetta's latest collection had like 313. That put a bit of a stress test on us, but all good things. We have like no limits. Basically, we want the creators to feel empowered to build their collection like the way they want to build it, basically.
Yes, I've done a bunch of.
Oh yeah, and this was on V3 of Midjourney, the V3 days.
Yeah. Because I mean,
so it was even harder to get these rendered.
Yeah, really hard. But I always think like beautiful in a different way, aren't they? I mean,
right.
Sometimes you just want to stop at the version 3 and not remaster it.
Oh, yeah,
mine completely different from this, but I'm not going to tell you what themes mine are. So if an artist wants to submit to Take It, then, I mean, how does that work? Go on then.
So you'll have to connect your wallet, and then once you connect your wallet, you should see a button pop up to like submit a drop, and you just go through the submission process. I will caveat that with our current submission process leaves a lot to be desired. We will be working on it soon, but yeah, it's basically just as easy as like going through the submit a drop process, including all the information we need to get it approved and up for voting as soon as possible.
Okay, so you'll probably be hearing from me and Ruth over the weekend then.
Awesome.
No, because that's the thing. You've got to get like a collection. It's not just random NFTs, is it?
Yeah. And nice. The way the voting process works is, as long as you like pass our submission process, there's no kind of copyrighted content, drugs, explicit content. As long as we approve it, your drop has, I think it's like 45 days to hit the 50 vote max, just because, you know, otherwise we would have just like so many dead collections just lingering around. So you just got to hit that 50 within 45 days.
Wow. What's this leaderboard then? What's that?
Right. Good question. So you know, in typical Haste fashion, we gotta gamify it. So this is kind of a carryover from some of our Haste Arcade leaderboards. So basically the way that this is calculated is this is for Take It style drops only. And the more you take on collections, you'll start appearing on this leaderboard. And you'll have to excuse me because I'm not.
So is this when you trade the cards that you know, work your way up this leaderboard? Then is it?
So this is like on initial drop through the bidding process. The more you're bidding, the higher up on this leaderboard you'll get.
All right.
So once that NFT is sold, like that's kind of where you stop going up and up and up. You know, like secondary marketplace sales won't affect this leaderboard. So this is like your participation in Take It style drops. And you know, I'm pretty sure that like once you get on this leaderboard, that means you like for every drop you do, or excuse me, for every take you have, you like earn additional on top of what you're already earning.
So I tell you what, this NFT gallery you've got feels a bit like an NFT gallery for mathematicians to be.
Yeah,
like statistics.
You know, it took me a really long time to kind of wrap my head around all this. We got a lot of big brains in the back working on the math, and I'm not a math person at all. So I'm gonna butcher all of the math. I know the logic well enough to understand what the experience needs to be.
Yeah. I know. I'm extremely impressed. I'm really impressed. I've basically not paid much attention to it thus far because it sounded a bit like complicated, if I'm honest, and I just kind of blanked out a little bit. You know, my bad, really.
No, I take that as like a point for us. We definitely need to go through and simplify it in a way that's like not confusing. Like I'll be the first to say that there's definitely, you know, work to be done there, both for Take It and the arcade. But you know, I think there's a solid foundation for sure.
I think probably for most people in BSV, though, they're pretty solid with their maths and stuff, and so probably
so we've seen that. We've seen that
this right off the bat than I am. But yeah, no, I mean it is really appealing. Awesome. So I'll be paying that a lot more attention. I mean, this is the thing, you know, isn't it great to be able to make these platforms that help other people make money?
Yeah, it is. It's great. And we love the community that we've like started building, and that's kind of like rallying around us because, you know, like that's kind of what the Take It platform is all about, is like the community. So that's really important to us.
So do you have a Discord for the Take It platform and for Haste as well then?
We just have a Take It channel within our Haste Discord.
Right.
There's a lot of crossover, but yeah, we just combine them all into one.
Yeah, that makes sense. We were saying about gamifying everything, so okay.
Well, I mean, we've kind of tripped through that pretty quickly, but I'm my eyes have been opened. I'm really kind of shocked. Tell me a bit more about how you're getting on with AI. Then are you obviously like really enjoying it? What do you think as an artist that it's going to do to your profession, or you're not worried? Is it just a tool?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm not worried. Obviously, I think it's something that is rapidly approaching. Maybe not within the next 5 years, but potentially the next 10. I've been, you know, really interested to see things like the GitHub AI that like writes developers code for them. Even that's still a ways off. So as of now, I think basically I'll get to the point where I'm too old to be concerned with it. but yeah, I don't know.
Aging out, yeah, I feel like that myself.
I hope so.
Yeah,
right?
It's like sometimes it's a bit like was it information overload? I always do that when it's information overload. You know, it's like too much information. My brain can't cope with that. It's just frying.
But to be fair, all three of us are using Midjourney and loving it. I mean, I'm practically addicted, I would say, at this point.
Really different styles as well. I mean, you should see like our three styles, I know you, Float, you've not seen my stuff, but like we are really different styles as well.
Yeah, that's what I love about Midjourney too, is that you can, because even I'm in a little Discord with a couple people in the community who are all really into Midjourney, and you know, we all have like public channels where we like share prompts and techniques and kind of like learn and build off of each other, and it's really great to like have that little community where you can like see other people's process and learn things from each other and just like get the different perspectives, and you know, it's like really, I love that kind of stuff.
I do, and I like how technical it is as well in a way.
Right.
Because,
it's almost
you know,
like
there's ways to hack it. You know,
language.
Yeah, like, it is.
I always tell people that it's like learning a programming language. Like it's not as easy as it may seem to get good results.
No, I mean, you can get some nice images fairly easily, but to try and get what you're after is very difficult, and try and get what you're after over and over again.
Yeah. My favorite is when like I think I want something in particular and I keep re-rolling a certain image or a certain prompt over and over again, and then Midjourney spits out something completely unexpected, and I'm like, whoa, I love this. Like those are my favorite parts.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. It is like it's on drugs. But I suppose if you've seen enough of the internet, that must be a lot like being on drugs.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, I'm using AI in all sorts of different areas. I'm using it to help me code. I'm using it to help me write. Just all sorts of things. I mean, for me, the AI explosion is like walking into a toy store. You know, it's like, wow. And
yeah,
I think partly because I'm old and I've seen like before the internet and after. So for me, it's just like, oh my God. How about you?
I think one of the more interesting things is I used some sort of AI tool to like take a 2D image and convert it into like a 3D render object that you can like take into Blender. I was like, all right, you know, let's see how this goes. And I was like blown away. Like, this is insane.
How long did it take you? How long was that process?
Oh, not long at all. I think, you know, like I had to sign up for a trial, and then I like uploaded the 2D image, and I think it processed it within like 10 minutes, which was insane. And you know, you could choose a lot of different options.
The object, or does it?
Yeah. So it like gave you the options to like you could mirror it front and back so it's similar, or like you can choose not to mirror it, and the AI will just kind of like guess. I didn't choose the guess option. I chose the mirroring option.
When you think about it, though, I mean, when I started 3D Studio Max in, let me think, 2001. So we're talking like 20 odd years of 3D rendered images. I mean, when I did it, it was all from scratch. You built the mesh, you built, you know, you owned it, and everything. Like, and it took weeks to do it, you know, for me, because I was a newbie.
But the speed of change now is just...
no, I know, but I'm saying this is like 21 years ago. You know, so 21 years of people building 3D models. It's not surprising actually that now you can take a 2D image and just go, yeah, turn that, and it's like that. And like it is mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling when you think how long things used to take, and that you can do that now as well, but also how far that technology has come, because there is so much data to pull from it that it can't get an image, you know, a body wrong anymore, can it? It can't get a human figure wrong. Really, there's so much to draw from, so much data for it to draw
the scariest thing about AI is that, like, you know, the more you train the model, the faster and the more precise it gets. So it's just going to get exponentially better, faster.
And it's already photorealistic. Is it? Anyway?
Oh yeah. We've seen that test P. Like that test P on Midjourney is insane.
I know, it's insane. I actually don't use it much because I don't like it to be too realistic.
I thought I didn't like it at first, and I've been messing with some Cat Wizard prompts with test P, and they are crazy. Yeah. And I'm converted now, because I was very much like, I'm gonna V3 all day and remaster. Like that was my strategy. But after a while,
and it's slow, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's slow. It had the most interesting effects, but it was slow. And now I just go straight into test P, and I didn't like it at first, but now I'm like, okay, you just have to kind of like retrain yourself to like learn it and get used to it.
Absolutely. Well, it depends what you're trying to get, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, for those gorgeous, deep, rich color, kind of rendered feel, test P is amazing.
Yeah, I like pushing my images really far. Like I'll upscale and then make variations, upscale, make like on and on and on, and you just keep building on the same image, and it gives you like just gorgeous images. So I like the garden cats, like that's how I did those, is I would make variations upscale, then like make variations on that upscaled image and keep
that
upscale.
re-rolling feature is really good now, isn't it? Because you can tweak the prompt a little bit after you've rendered it.
Oh yeah, the remix feature it's interesting for sure. I messed around with it a little bit. Not exactly what I was expecting, but I think they're on the right track for sure.
Yeah.
So what advice have you got for anybody wanting to kind of, do some Haste Arcade or even take it? Is there anything, that you can?
I don't know. Just do it, man. Just do it. Like,
yeah, it sounds like don't be afraid.
Do it.
Crack on. Yeah.
Come talk to us.
Get
We
your
want
finger out
people
and
to
do
use
it.
our platforms and give us feedback, good or bad. Like we want it. Like come talk to us. Just do it. Don't think.
No, that's a great advice, I think, just generally, but it's really great advice, because I think people get paralyzed a bit, like paralysis analysis.
They do, or they get worried that like no one's gonna like it, no one's gonna buy it, and it's like it doesn't. I always try to tell people that like as long as you're happy like making the art, like that's all that matters,
Exactly.
Like,
release it into the wild and see what happens.
Right. If you're going into it like looking for some type of like approval or to like make a lot of money, you got the right mindset. I mean, or you got the wrong mindset, right? Yeah. You're just going to be disappointed.
Definitely. Well, I mean, last year I made a Halloween collection and a Christmas collection that were kind of featuring Women of BSV and other Craig Wright and all of that,
other prominent faces in the BSV community.
Recognize, and it just makes me wonder whether maybe there's some room for that as a game,
Possibly. I know we had like I think we had like some sort of Satoshi themed game. There's always all kinds of games. There's definitely we always want to be like really, really careful with copyright and getting
the main problem.
Because we hate to like spend all that time to get a game out there, and people start playing and love.
That's true. That's true.
And
you have to get permission from all the people in it.
Oh yeah, you see that's the thing that I'm a real stickler on, because my background is sort of like theatre, TV, film, etc. So copyright and getting people's permission is something I'm always saying to you need to ask them first. You need to ask if you can do it. So
we do. We've always got permission.
Always ask for permission. I asked the BA once if I could draw a portrait of Craig and Jimmy and a few other people. It was Kelvin, and nobody came back to me, so I didn't do it, because like I don't
better safe than sorry.
And then there's so many other portraits out there of them, but I won't do it because they didn't give me permission to do so. So therefore unfortunately I'm a bit of a stickler like that. Probably
I am too, because we have a lot of people who like come into the arcade and they're like, oh, this game and this game would be perfect for the arcade. They're naming like big names like Among Us and Pac-Man and Tetris and like we would love to, but those brands are very litigious. Like we can't. I mean, obviously we can make like games that are reminiscent of the gameplay style, but like have to have our own take on it, which I know is like disappointing to some people, but you got to play the game that way.
But you have, because there's no point getting taken down or.
Right, that's not what we're about.
I had a 3D pool game years and years ago, which was on I paid a developer, it's about 400 quid. I paid this developer, and it was a 3D pool game, and it was on an arcade for like mobile apps for the phone. Never made me a goddamn thing, but it was an interesting experience. It was a great game as well, and I'd love to see. I mean, probably giving away my one of my ideas would be to have a 3D pool game on your arcade, because I think that'd be brilliant. But then we're going down the club games of Skittles and then 10-pin bowling and darts and everything. I might take this out as well, because I don't want people to nick my idea.
well if that's it's funny, because like that's one of the main pieces of feedback we have, is that like users are looking for those familiar games like pool, like pinball, like darts, card games, like solitaire. Some of them are easier than others, right? Like pool, no copyright concerns, right? Like no one owns the idea of pool. I would say if you still have access to that mobile game, hit us up, we'll take a look at it. But
man, oh wow.
Well, we're definitely like we're moving in a direction where we want to get those more familiar games in the arcade, especially when we're like trying to acquire users that come from outside of the BSV sphere. They don't have a lot of trust in like crypto, and they see games that they have never heard of, and they're like very hesitant to make an account and start playing. But so like getting a lot of those more familiar games is like one of our top priorities for sure.
One of my favorite games when I was a kid was David's Midnight Magic, and that was a pinball game. And that is just amazing. It's really addictive. It's really, really, fun.
Yeah.
So that would probably be, top of my list if I could choose. And it was not that different to hitting the ball in, the baseball game. Because you're just trying to kind of like hit it in the flippers and everything. It's all timing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one of the games we're looking into. It's on our short list for sure.
I think that's a pretty cracking game, because you can just be like top down, so it's all just 2D. But that's just very addictive game. I don't know, maybe like it scratched my itch. It's like the one thing that I played a lot. But I mean, endless opportunities really for people who are keen programmers.
Definitely, for sure.
Yeah, I'll have to talk to my son again. I mean, he's 16, about to turn 17, but he obsessively writes games. So
wouldn't the best thing to be to literally get him to download Handcash, send him some BSV, and go check out Haste Arcade? You'll love it. There's loads of games on it. Just leave him to it.
I know. Honestly, I've said this before. It's better saying again. Anything that your mum brings to you as a kid instantly has to be on Cool Right. So I think the relationship, mother-son relationship, is kind of killing it for me.
He'll be like, Mom, these games are so lame, and it's like, yeah, don't you think you can make a better one? Like, I give into it. Like, come on,
that's a good reverse psychology. I like it. Yeah.
I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah, I did.
Mind opening.
We've been missing tricks all over the place, not having you guys on to show us around these apps.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for joining us as well. So is there anything else that you'd like to close out with? Oh
man, I don't think so. I just play Haste, check out Take It. We're going to be pushing some big things here shortly, so the future for Haste is looking good.
Great.
Will you be going to the London blockchain conference in May next year, end of May, June next year?
I'm not sure. We honestly haven't even talked about it yet, but I'm not much of a traveler, quite honestly. I will likely stay home in my safe space. I'm a little bit of a hermit.
Same. I'm terrible at traveling, but at least it's in London, really so it's on my doorstep, really.
Yeah. I love traveling.
I would love to visit London one day, though. One day.
Well, let us know when you do.
Absolutely, I will.
Excellent. Thank you so much for gracing our platform with your presence, and I am sure that both myself and Ruth will definitely be in touch about the Take It anyway, and probably sooner rather than later.
Awesome. Yes, thank you so much for having me. It was so great talking with you.